Common Ground is a public charter high school, but it is also an environmental education center for all ages and an urban farm. And part of that urban farm is our pretty robust compost operation. The compost is used on our farm, and it's also used as a site for like educational activities, and hopefully going forward, even more educational activities joint with the Environmental Education Center and with the high school, potentially algebra lessons, learning about taking temperatures in compost and using that to make curves, and all sorts of just opportunities and touch points for education. Common Ground cannot be summed up so quickly, but it's a pretty exceptional place. So we can go on to the next slide. Awesome. So Common Ground's compost program, it's been around for a little while. Our particular system is called an aerated static pile system. It has a pretty huge capacity. At peak, we were able to process a ton of food waste a week. So that doesn't necessarily apply to every school. I feel like every school can have a much smaller compost program and still make a huge impact. But because of our capacity, we are able to be community scale, which means we take in input from the entire city of New Haven. And that's coming from community drop-offs at our school, a company that we partner with, Peels and Wheels, which bikes around New Haven and picks up from their subscribers and drops off with us, and then also from our cafeteria. So currently we're the only community scale composting in New Haven. There is no municipal composting. So pretty much we're the only composting game in town right now. And y'all are making that happen. So proud of them. So not only does that provide nutrition for our farm, which provides nutrition for our community because the output from our farm goes to our cafeteria, to our student families, and also to our mobile market, which goes out to areas of New Haven under food apartheid where they may not be able to access fresh produce. So that's part of like closing that loop. Our waste from the cafeteria goes into the compost, goes into our farm, and then feeds our community. And the other impact of that is that for New Haven, we don't really have access to landfills. Instead, our waste is all shipped off to other places where it's generally incinerated, which causes massive air quality issues. Historically, it's been in Bridgeport and Hartford, which are two other larger cities in Connecticut, for those who are not familiar with the geography of Connecticut. And those cities experience the highest levels of asthma in the state, and that's related. So taking that 30% of our waste, which is food waste, out of the equation, out of those incinerators, is like the major impact of the work that y'all help us do. Next slide, please. So the Green Jobs Corps it's active citywide, and it is an effort to connect students with green jobs where they can get experience in sustainability and also get paid for their time. Last fall, we started a compost crew. Clouds and Jocelyn were two of the original members. We had a group of 4, and they helped me every week process compost. And this year alone, we diverted over 30,000 pounds of food waste.
It was that much?
Yeah, it was that much. Are you surprised too? Yeah. This year alone, that's how much food waste.
I thought it was liquor.
No. Yeah. So 30,000 pounds that would have ended up in a landfill or an incinerator, we put into our compost. And this work is very physically demanding. It's often kind of nasty, as y'all can attest to. So I think it's really important that this labor is rewarded in kind. I think it's an equitability issue. And I think that it's super, super important that they're paid for their work. Unfortunately, our funding did run out last fall, much earlier than I expected. Clouds and Jocelyn continued to come as volunteers for community service hours, just because they felt proud to do it. And I'm super, yeah, I know. Jocelyn always says that she'd do it for free, but I want them to be paid for this work. I know that you would, but they deserve to be paid for this work, and I'm super proud of them. So one of the biggest things that we are looking for going forward is how can we secure more consistent funding so that these positions are as financially sustainable as they are ecologically sustainable. Because they, as Amy was saying before, you are the sustainability leaders of our future, and we need to invest in you. So that's kind of my introduction. And now I want to amplify their voices and let them talk to their experience of composting. And yeah, I hope that we can continue paying you next year. Next slide, please, Ileana, and then I'll turn it over to Clouds and Jocelyn.
All right. So we ship the ways you're empowered by compost. Let's start with the first one.
We talked to peers about sorting waste and why compost is important to the school and to us as well.
We problem solve a lot. I can tell you from a little experience, I try to fix some problems in the compost area itself. And yeah, they weren't successful. Some were successful, but it's still tried.
What was one of your ideas?
Remember the time I tried to stop us from flipping and just mix it all at once when we were just dropping it there. Taking the wood chips, just pushing it onto one pile and then mixing it there. I failed very horribly. It still works a bit.
It is a little more physical demanding, but it actually makes the job easier in the long run.
So for context, we have a recipe and we have to mix all of dark browns and green material. And so we've had moments when we've experimented a little and tried to find ways that were better for our bodies or better for the system. So Clouds is always really great at coming up with new ways to try to do things better. And sometimes they're not successful and often they are, and that's okay. Yeah.
We keep each other safe and on task. In the compost crew, to be honest, we are one big family. It doesn't matter who you are. If you come just once, we treat you like family. We watch out for your safety. If one of us is injured, we give them the more easier jobs, the less physically demanding jobs, and we just make sure that they're okay. If we check in with each other every now and then. If we see someone who's struggling a bit, we ask if they need to take a break. There was times when I know I've needed water and I was lightheaded and tired, and both Clouds and one of my friends, Fernando, who's also one of the main four, he's helped out. He's giving water. When it was cold, we find stuff to wear. If we have extra stuff, we give it. And then keep on each other on tasks. People I know for a fact sometimes every now and then I will get off task, and Clouds and some others will remind me to get back on task. I know some of them will get off task, and I'll remind them to get back on task.
You're very good at that. You are. It's very helpful.
We're role models for anyone who comes around. People who visit the school, I know people who visited at the school have asked about it, and some of us are a little more shy in sharing about it, and some of us are a little more open to sharing about it. There was the kids who can't come in lawning and asking about it. We've talked to them. I know personally, I have talked to some of the visitors while I was just hanging around the compost. And they've got interested in that. We being peers, some of my friends who I know who guides aren't going to be there for a while and they don't want to sit around, I'll bring them in. I'll legit you're coming with me. We're doing compost. You're gonna have fun. It may smell a bit if you're not used to it, but it's not that bad. It helps out a lot, both the environment and yourself.
So on to that. I have a little story. Remember a time I accidentally dropped one of the bins too hard and I'm sprung up and splashed me all over.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to go clean myself at the farm and just get like a new clothes from the farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the stories.
We all make sure that we have that, like, there's waders and gloves so you don't get anything on our clothes. We can choose to wear them. Clouds will wear them, but I will not.
For
It's-
personal
sometimes.
protective
it's,
equipment.
it's
Yes.
easier.
Yes.
I just don't want to do that much longer.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, and another great story is when Clouds, you taught the smaller kids from community programs how to sift. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't know if I can really talk. Like, it's like not that long, but well, so at Common Ground we have community programs like Nature Year. What other ones are there?
There's the summer camp.
yeah.
Summer camp. What about the ones that are actually in for school?
That's Nature Year.
Yes, that's true.
Nature Year is
Oh.
public schools in New Haven. Students can spend one day out of their regular class time learning outside in the forest that surrounds our school. And sometimes that means they'll come down to the compost while we're working and we'll teach them things.
It's always fun. I know for a fact, like, a few of the Nature Year people have actually come to me and told me, because they recognize me, like, the kids loved the compost. They want to come back, which I'm glad, because one, us teenagers are also all going to help for a bit, but if we get even more younger people involved, that would be more easier to keep the thing going on the right path to help the environment.
That's so
Yeah.
true. That's so true. Y'all are inspiring the next generation.
Yeah.
Y'all have any advice you want to share for other schools who might be interested in starting their compost?
Make sure you have the right equipment and material. Basically, if you're gonna start composting, get some shovels, choppers, it's water too. So that's what you need. Make sure to have a
You also want to educate your school about sorting and getting involved. So, like, make sure, like, your school knows that certain things can be compostable and some things that can be compostable may not be able to be composted at your school, just depending on what your school can take and cannot.
make sure research a good recipe. Like us, we have a good recipe that will take up all the Peels on Wheels material, to take up our own material, even our own animals materials. Yeah.
We have animals on our farm and we do compost their muck, which is their bedding and their feces, which is a huge part of our compost.
Yeah.
So
It's like the base of our compost.
yeah, knowing what your feedstocks are. Do y'all remember what feedstocks are?
It's
It's
just a food.
It's just food, right?
it's just the stuff that goes into your compost, helps you build your recipe. Yeah.
You also want to make sure you get as many people involved as you can. The more people it is, the more it would be easier to get to do, because the more people you have would also mean the more people you can get involved. And if you have multiple people going and a lot of people coming and be involved, you can grow your program or community. And you also want to make sure there's at least two people, like two adults who are there, who are like in charge of the compost and know what's going on at all times. It will be easier. So, like, when students graduate or like during summer or something like that, the winter or stuff like that, during different times, some people may not be able to come. So you at least want two people who know what's going on at all times.
So the work's inspired by y'all and you guys keep it going, but having an adult who sort of carries it on as students graduate.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, also find a good space to do it. Like, we have our own compost area. Find like a good piece of land that's on your campus to basically run it, like start composting and.
Back to what I was saying earlier about educating the school. One, you can have more people involved. We also did something for the compost class. Did something where we went into the guidances, different like classrooms, and actually talked about compost and like what goes in compost, what does not. And that actually has helped because there used to be a whole bunch of plastic forks, plastic utensils. Now there's a lot less.
You guys have any questions or feedback you want to tell us?
I want to thank you first before everyone comes in. It's the amazing work. Chandra, thank you for spearheading them. But Clouds, Jocelyn, you are just such an inspiration. Just to know that you are the only ones in New Haven who are responsible for offering this community composting scale, and that you're even not only the composting, but improving the air quality there. I don't know if you understand the ramifications of how great your work is and your passion, regardless of funding, regardless of the challenges you've faced. Great efforts and empowering others to do the work. I really loved hearing about that.